You know what? Step back, America. Welcome, by the way. It appears the Democrat Party can't even nominate somebody to run for president competently, doesn't it? I mean, from the border to the economy to wars to the debt, law and order. Do they do anything right? Do they do anything well? The Democrat Party can't do anything well. It bullies, it threatens, it muscles, it imposes, it forces. This is a primary. They don't know how to run a primary? I mean, they changed the primary rules to accommodate Biden. They moved New Hampshire from first to somewhere in the pack. South Carolina's first because South Carolina's Biden. They forced Robert Kennedy out of their own party, the party of Kennedy. He's out there running as an independent, denying that he ate a dog. But the truth is, the Democrat Party and their media have done all this. Nobody did it to them. Trump didn't do it. The Republicans didn't do it. Putin didn't do it. Netanyahu didn't do it. They did it. How hard is it to run a primary system and not nominate a mentally impaired individual? Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrat Party got caught trying to impose on we the people a man with significant dementia because they were able to run circles around us, the government, our institutions, without a strong president, a figurehead. We have radical Marxists and their ilk running each cabinet. They have over 3,000 appointees, the vast majority of whom are radicals, the vast majority of whom are revolutionaries, Marxist Islamists. The State Department is a rogue operation. The Department of Justice is an enforcement arm of an ever-growing police state under the Democrat Party. The board is wide open for one purpose and one purpose only, to change the congressional districts to help the Democrats to ensure chain migration and the never-ending victories of the Democrat Party in the near future and beyond. The reason they had a debate in June is because they thought Trump would be the problem, that Trump would lose his cool. They thought a few hot buttons pressed here and there, Trump would be undisciplined. They spent time with Biden, the Gang of 18, and I have no doubt that when they were done, they said to themselves, uh-oh, I think we made a huge mistake. Whatever Trump does, I think we made a huge mistake. Started debate day at 11 a.m. 3 hours later, Biden was taking a nap. And you know damn well that they were with him closely, and they saw they had a problem on their hands. They had the debate network they wanted. They had the debate hosts they wanted. They had the padded room they wanted. There was no audience. They wouldn't even allow other media in there. Now we know why, don't we? They would not even allow other media in there. The problem is, Mr. and Mrs. America, you were in there. They've done everything they can to camouflage a man in significant mental decline who shouldn't be anywhere close to the Oval Office, who shouldn't be in the Oval Office today. I did shows on the 25th Amendment here, on Blaze, on Fox, months ago. We did show on Stage 5 Dementia, now about 4 or 5 weeks ago. This is the situation the Democrat Party has created. Here's their problem. I'll put it as simply as I can. Their problem is if Joe Biden stays in, if he stays in, they feel that's a dead loser. That's what they see. In other words, if the man, they did everything they could to nominate, change the rules, finance, put all the bumpers in place to protect him. And even then, if he can't win, it's a disaster. But the other choice is that he leaves. They want him to stay in office, which is kind of weird. If he's not competent to stand trial, he's not competent to be the nominee. How is he competent to be president, which is the whole point of being the nominee? No, Mr. President? Yes, Mr. President. But the alternative is he decides not to run, and millions of people are disenfranchised. The primary will have been a farce, a complete farce. The little d democratic process that the big D Democrats keep claiming they stand for will be eviscerated. All the voters in the various towns and cities and counties and states, all the campaign workers knocking on doors, the signs in the yards, the pancake events, the speeches, the surrogates, broomed away, meaning absolutely nothing, the entire democratic process for the Democrat Party. So in Chicago, less than 4,000 activists. Most delegates are activists. Most delegates are local political operatives. Not all, but most. They will choose the Democrat nominee to the exclusion of the tens of millions who voted. Nobody's talking about this. I've raised it now 3 days in a row. This is very important. Because even the people calling for Joe Biden to step aside, they say we'll have an open process and select somebody else. What does that mean? It means, ladies and gentlemen, open debate, an open give and take, open challenges within the less than 4,000 delegates making the decision. Less than 4,000 people making the decision that tens of millions of people made. This is what happens when you run a fraud for president. They've tried everything possible. They told you he had a cold. Oh, really? He had a cold. As I said last night, my buddy Bob sent me an email and said that's the excuse they used for every former Soviet leader who was on their deathbed who never showed their face again. They had a cold. No, it wasn't that. It's jet lag now. It was jet lag. You should have known better. You almost fell asleep during the debate. Jet lag? How could it be jet lag when he was at Camp David for 8 days before the debate? Jet lag? What does that mean? There's no jet lag. Well, he wasn't prepared right, by the state. And this is Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the punk street politician who takes responsibility for nothing. It's always somebody else's fault. In his entire life, he's gotten away with it. He's gotten away with lying and conniving and plotting. Now, despite all the news articles, all the spin, all the static, the truth is that Joe Biden will not leave unless Joe Biden decides to leave. 99% of those electors are Joe Biden committed electors. That's the truth. There's a huge disconnect now between the electors and the newspapers and the editorial boards and the commenters on TV. These are activists. These are party stalwarts. Of course they want to win. But the dirty little truth is They knew all about Joe Biden, too, like all the rest of us. They knew it, too. But even more, from a political perspective, if another candidate is chosen, even with their assistance, they lose all their power because they're there on Joe Biden's coattails. Not Kamala Harris, not Newsom, not fill in the blank. Oh, and one other point. I don't care about the racist politics the Democrats and their media play. I could care less. Kamala Harris is not qualified to be president because she's shown she can't even be vice president. I don't care what anybody else says. Again, I use my own ears and eyes. A disaster. Can you imagine her as president of the United States? But that's not even why. I posted earlier this morning. I see some other plagiarists out there posted since. Right, Mr. Producer? Some of them who I know. I posted earlier this morning that Kamala Harris has led the way to cover up for Joe Biden. She's his vice president. She meets with him. They have lunch together. She knows his staff. Her staff knows him. She knows full well that Joe Biden is incapacitated. That's why she's hanging around as vice president. As recently as this past Sunday, just 3 days after the debate, she was defending Joe Biden. Today, she's defending Joe Biden. But out of the other side of her mouth, she and her staff and her surrogates and racists here and there are arguing that you cannot bypass Kamala Harris should Joe Biden decide not to run. Why? She's the first woman and the first black person to be vice president of the United States. Now, as I said last night, what is this woman stuff? Why do they get to use woman when they want to, but pronouns when they insist on it? So that's a nothing. Genitalia is irrelevant. What about her race? That's irrelevant too, except to the Democrat Party. They've built their party on racism. First with the Klan, and now they claim to be the party of civil rights. So the party of civil rights Marxism, not civil rights, but that's for another day, as I wrote in American Marxism. This is a significant part of their base. So they're in a pickle, not even a kosher pickle, just a lousy dill pickle. They're in a pickle. The Democrat Party is not really a party. It is a alien entity made up of disparate parts. Mostly people who are angry, people who are radicals, people who don't accept the country. Not all, please. But they're leaders. And the leaders of the various groups that they assign ethnicity to, or age to, or wealth to, or whatever they assign to. The Democrat Party doesn't fit well in our constitutional system because it hates it. It doesn't fit well in an open, honest electoral process because it hates it. It doesn't fit well in law and order because it believes in lawlessness and disorder. And you're seeing this right before your eyes. The media now are trying to cover their asses with tough questions of the press secretary. Sorry. The media did this too. In fact, it led the way.